Hey everybody, it is Kellen Nitro for Nitro Maniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. Don't mind the little bit of moisture on the shirt there. It's what happens when life happens. This is my take on last night's AEW Dynamite episode emanating from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. The reason why I'm doing this week's Dynamite is it ran sort of kind of head-to-head with the NXT Takeover special that was going on. NXT Takeover 30 on the WWE Network that was ongoing on August 22nd, 2020. At about the same time, there and abouts, I think Dynamite went off the air still with either an hour or 90 minutes left with the Takeover special happening at about the same time or so. So the Wednesday Night Wars moved to Saturday for this week just due to pandemic and SummerSlam and scheduling of events and that stuff. And NXT, kudos to them, got 2 shows off this week. They got their normal Wednesday night show and, of course, the Saturday Takeover special. AEW, though, really packed it in for this show on Saturday. It was their special Saturday Night Dynamite, trying to give it the old 6:05 feel, even though it went on the air at 6:35 Eastern Standard Time, I guess, but still 4:35 out here in the Mountain Time Zone. And let's take a look at the notes that I got. We'll go match by match and some of my favorite spots and interviews and such during the night, and we'll see what I think of it at the end. By the way, as always, post your comments below. What did you think of the show, and what did you like, what didn't you like off of it, and so on and so forth. This was a real cold open. They played the opening video for Dynamite. I was watching off of TSN here in Canada. We actually had it on a tape delay, so I didn't get a chance to watch this until I fired up the PVR probably about 9:30 last night or so. It's the 23rd, afternoon of the 23rd as I record this for y'all. But we go right into a tag team match with Private Party taking on FTR, and FTR seems to have a brand new manager. Yes, Tully Blanchard has joined with FTR. This is huge. This is pretty massive here, and this is going to definitely put FTR into the talk of potentially facing Kenny and Adam Page, Kenny Omega and Adam Page for the AEW tag team titles at All Out. I think that's the route that we're going here. Dax's knee brace seems to be cumbersome on him, or his knee injury worsened. Very immobile, it seemed, tonight. Yeah, at times it seemed like he was having some issues getting around a ring there and that stuff. So I almost wonder if there's a legit issue with that, or that's just him superselling the knee a little bit. But either way, or he just has issues moving with a knee brace. I know some pro athletes will get their knee braces changed up and that stuff as the season rolls on, just because the initial knee braces that they get are too cumbersome on them in different sports. So maybe that was a case of that today. And it was mentioned again, a Private Party has been tutored by Matt Hardy. Yes, this was a solid back and forth opener. And of course they hit the finish. The Goodnight Express, the former Shatter Machine, gets the 1-2 free with FTR, and we're left wondering off of that opening segment, what's the relationship between Tully Blanchard and FTR? That's answered later on in the show. Going to commercial, we get a Jon Moxley promo towards MJF, and again, more hype for All Out. This was a well done promo, going right to commercial, and then back from commercial, we go back to MJF with his cabinet, of course, with a neck brace on after the attack from Moxley last week, and of course the paradigm shift finisher being applied to MJF in the middle of the ring. Says he is mangled from last week, and he introduces a character by the name of Mark Sterling, who will play as MJF's agent. He wants to ban the paradigm shift, and they present a contract that we find out will be signed, or should be signed, next week on Dynamite during the Thursday night special. Again, Dynamite getting shifted around because of the NBA playoffs on TNT. For the title match at All Out between Moxley and MJF, but the paradigm shift will be banned. Now, I almost wonder if there's going to be a stipulation coming from the face side here, as there sometimes typically is in this situation where, let's say, a finisher's banned, but then, the face gets like an entourage band or something like that. So maybe Wardlow will be banned from ringside as an answer off of this, and it'll be mano-a-mano, one-on-one. So we'll see what happens off of that, but again, great drama being built. Next matchup, 8-man tag team action with the Jurassic Express and Natural Nightmares taking on the Lucha Brothers and Butcher and the Blade. This is another great showcase match, your typical 8-man tag, but the big story of it is dissension between Blade and Pentagon leading up to a roll-up by Jungle Boy for the 1-2-3. But post-match, Eddie Kingston hits the ring, says they should all walk with him and that all these guys on this side were huge independent wrestling stars, but since coming to AEW, they've played second fiddle to teams like the Elite and Inner Circle and so on and so forth. And it kind of feels like this is kind of a loose partnership now at this time. But Eddie kind of serves as the bonding agent between the 5 of them. So is this the start of a brand new faction? We'll have to wait and see in amongst the AEW crowd. But the good news is that's the case. That means Kingston has a contract with AEW, which is awesome. I believe he did sign one, which is great. And now he has some creative, so that's great. He's one of the great talkers in the business, so let the dude talk. Let him be a manager. We've seen it work before in Impact with the LAX feud a few years ago. So this will be probably some decent TV coming off of this. At least I hope so. We then cut to a pre-tape feature of Dr. Britt Baker and Reba Rebel, whatever, in the gym. And a very funny bit with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. It sounds like next week, actually, and it was announced for later on in the show. They announced it for next week. A 2-on-1 handicap match is coming up between Britt Baker and Penelope Ford versus Big Swole. So that will be next week on Dynamite. So that'll be a big draw for sure. Back from commercial. They go to commercial. We come back from commercial. Tony's in the ring. He introduces Orange Cassidy. This is supposed to be Cassidy's first kind of singular promo. And before he gets one word out, he is interrupted by Chris Jericho. Says that we need a rubber match, and the announcement of what could be either the next great cinematic match of the year, or it could be something for the WrestleCrap files is announced. The Mimosa Mayhem match at All Out, and also maybe a drink announcement for the Jericho Cruise. I will do some more inside digging, trust me. Winner by pinfall, submission, or by throwing the opponent into an 80-gallon mimosa vat. Yes, I'll repeat that again. Winner of the match, pinfall, submission, or by throwing the opponent into an 80-gallon mimosa vat. Pro wrestling, everybody. Anyway, the Inner Circle comes out and Jericho wants to toast Cassidy, but that leads to a beatdown and Jericho pours champagne into Cassidy's eyes. So next week on Dynamite, we're supposed to have more. I think we're supposed to have another contract signing. There's going to be a lot of contract signings next week between Jericho and Cassidy for this quote-unquote Mimosa Mayhem thing on September 5th. It was verbally agreed to, I know, this week, but just to start that storyline. But Jericho, again, I think this screams cinematic, but we'll see what happens, what they do, if it's going to be like a as live cinematic like the Stadium Stampede was earlier in the year at Double or Nothing, which was actually really good, really entertaining. Some trios action up next as they packed it full with just everybody getting on and getting spots tonight for sure. Dark Order members 3, 4, and 5 taking on the Elite, so Kenny Omega and Jackson's, the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. The Elite trios action still as crisp as ever. Alex Reynolds and John Silver are proving to be quite the little tag team, though, on AEW TV. They've really progressed and kind of have made the tag team division their own. They turned the tide with a Van Daminator on the outside on Omega with a chair. Omega fights back with Snapdragons and a tag to Matt Jackson. Meltzer driver attempt, though, thwarted again by Reynolds and Silver. I think a lot of familiarity there because the 4 of them have worked before on AEW on Dark and stuff like that, and even prior to AEW as well. I think these guys have worked the independents as well, and it showed in this match. They had the two teams had really good chemistry, but then we kind of seen Omega flip a switch in this match, and we kind of see the psycho Omega come back. We've seen it the past couple of weeks, but it really came back big time in this match. The finish starts with Alan Angels of the Dark Order getting caught with a double super kick from the top rope. Omega then assists on the Indie Taker and then takes down Angels with a one-winged Angel. Ironic, 1, 2, 3. Post-match, Omega snaps and powerbombs Angels basically into mush. Like he just repeated powerbombs him over and over again. And finally, the Young Bucks break it up and say, yo, Kenny, just chill, what's wrong? And Kenny's got the crazed look in his eye and that stuff. So we'll have to wait and see what that happens. The more and more I'm thinking, if I have to predict what would happen at All Out, if FTR wins this gauntlet, which I'm going to talk about next year, this tag team gauntlet, and gets the number one contendership, and they go up against Page and Omega, it's looking more and more like if the Omega Page team splits, that it's not going to be Page turning heel, it's going to be Omega turning heel off of this. And that could be wild. That could be a lot of fun going forward. I think that might be a fun arc. But again, this is just speculative at this point. We'll have to wait and see. Again, the tag team gauntlet announced for next week. The winners get Omega and Page at All Out. So FTR is involved in it. Young Bucks are involved in it. I think Butcher and Blade are involved in it. Lucha Bros, and there's a fifth team in there as well. But Best Friends as well. So it's the top 5 in the rankings, and they'll start with 5 taking on 4. Winner of this takes on number 3 team. Winner of that will take on the number 2 team. And then the winner of that will take on the number 1 ranked team to wrap things up. So, and FTR has the number 1 ranking right now, so they get the last spot. And very interesting promo. You can already see where, and that's the announcement where Tully's actually involved with FTR now as their official coach, player, well, not player coach, but coach and manager for the team, much like Arn Anderson is with Cody. And, hey, slip the dogs of war. Let's see what happens. Go to commercial, come back, and back from commercial we have a Darby Allin match. Darby Allin taking on Will Hobbs, and I thought that this was going to be a squash match for Darby. No, Hobbs puts in a great effort, but the coffin drop and 1, 2, 3, Allin gets a pin. The whole thing probably about 7 or 8 minutes, so it was actually a really entertaining back and forth type match. Post-match, Taz is at commentary, and he introduces his new Taz team member, or Team Taz member, I should say. That's alliteration for you. Darby. And it, well, put it in the air quotes, Darby, like that. Ricky Starks walks out dressed up as Darby, and basically leads to a 2-on-1 beatdown with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks beating down Darby Allin. And that's basically it. Before commercial, Sammy comes out with a sign message again for Matt Hardy. This is where TSN kind of went to a full screen and went to like a full-on commercial. We didn't get the picture-in-picture, but reading the results from last night online and that stuff, apparently Matt Hardy had goofied with the signs a little bit, and Sammy didn't realize it and whatever, and that led to coming back from commercial and Matt Hardy attacking Sammy Guevara to the point where he lays Guevara out like big time, and that leads to another match for next week. We'll have Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara 1-on-1. So that'll be that'll be an entertaining contest for sure. I think that they could have potentially saved this for a couple of weeks, and this would have been a nice little undercard match for the pay-per-view. But if you're in a ratings war, you kind of want to, put your best foot forward every single time you go out there. So we then go to a pre-tape in the back, and it is the NWA World's Women's Champion, Thunder Rosa, on Dynamite. Yes, she challenges Hikaru Shida for her belt at All Out. Yes, so Shida walked out last week and basically said anybody, anywhere, anytime can challenge for the AEW Women's Championship. Thunder Rosa from NWA kind of comes in under the radar a little bit and pops in the challenge, and this kind of, this opens the door, because don't forget, Nick Aldis, the current NWA World Heavyweight Champion, was heavily courted by Tony Khan and the Young Bucks and Cody for signing up and joining AEW, but as a roster member. But Aldis decided to stick with Billy Corgan and NWA, and you saw the success with NWA Power and such prior to the COVID outbreak, and I'll be releasing maybe a separate video on that later on down the line, thinking about what's next for the NWA, and it's a really passionate fan following that was developed off of that NWA Power series. I think that they could probably replicate that, honestly, coming up with this new agreement with the Championship Wrestling Group. The people who present Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Championship Wrestling from Arizona, Championship Wrestling from basically wherever on the West Coast. It's the group that Dave Marquez is a big part of, who happened to be the ring announcer for NWA Power and all of the NWA pay-per-views as of late as well. So I don't think that, with Lagana out now as the head of creative over there, I think that you're going to see more of this type of stuff happening. Not less, but more. And of course, AEW plays to a bigger audience than they would have with Ring of Honor anyways. So this is a good move. This is awesome. And Shida, Thunder Rosa at the pay-per-view, All Out, September 5th. That will be fun. That'll be a great match to see. We then have the Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament Finals. Yes, the culmination of that mini YouTube series that has been going on prior to dark, that AEW has been releasing on their YouTube channel every Monday night for the past few weeks here. Diamante and Ivelisse taking on the Nightmare Sisters of Brandy and Allie. Brandy Rhodes and Allie. Veda Scott in the booth at ringside. Good on her, getting some national TV time. She was the color commentator alongside Tony Schiavone for the first round and second round matches during this little kind of mini tournament. So the quarters and the semis and such. Great tag team action here. Diamante was crisp, and Ivelisse looks as good as she did on Lucha Underground. Big back elbow by Diamante, but QT Marshall jumps up on the apron and gets dumped on the outside for his troubles. And that also allows Diamante and Ivelisse to basically slingshot Brandy through the ropes, and so that dispatches her. Diamante and Ivelisse then it's a 2-on-1 attack on Allie basically at that point to finish the match, and a snapmare round kick by Diamante on Allie gets the 1-2-3. Post-match, Medusa, pro wrestling legend Medusa, former Alundra Blaze in WWE and so on and so forth, actually a former Monster Jam world champion in monster truck racing as well, awards the trophy to Diamante and Ivelisse, former top-end reporter for IHRA broadcasts as well way back in the day. Real motorsports nerds know what I'm talking about. But the girls snag the Puerto Rican flags instead and basically throw the flowers onto the ground. So this is going to be a heel team going forward in AEW. And they're established now. They are the Women's Tag Team Cup champions, so I would assume that a version of the cup or a smaller version of that cup will be around them all the time. But, that's a good roster pickup. Their matches will probably be on dark and maybe a few times on the main show and that stuff. But, this women's division is a lot better than it was a year ago, for sure, with the people that they brought in. It looks a lot better. The main event, the TNT title, Cody, the champion, taking on Mr. Brody Lee of the Dark Order. After the introductions, a very hot start, a big drop kick by Lee, and big drop kick by Brody Lee, and Cody ends up getting taken to town outside of the ring. Lee is ragdolling Cody and inside the ring and outside of the ring at this point. Lee hits a discus lariat and gets the 1-2-3. There wasn't one single offensive move, I should say, from Cody, with the exception of the beginning of the match where he charged Brody Lee. Brody was in control of the match right from that issue in the corner beyond. Post-match, Brody says no one figured this, and now the Dark Order has all the power as Cody is stretchered out of the ring. Yes, so Tony Schiavone hits the ring, and while Brody Lee is giving the interview, the trainers and everybody load Cody up on the stretcher. The Dark Order, though, gathers around the ring and jumps Arn Anderson, and they turn over Cody's stretcher. Dustin and Cody are laid out as well as they haul Dustin from the back and lay him out. And Anna Jay chokes out Brandy Rhodes. So the entire Nightmare family, if you will, and QT Marshall are laid out. And The show goes to black with Brody Lee walking out with the TNT title. Cody as well is clocked over the head once again with a sack. And once the sack is dumped out, it is the remnants of the old TNT Championship, the temporary belt that Brody Lee had stole a few weeks ago on Dynamite and had been in possession of. And that closes that chapter. We have a new TNT champion in jaw-dropping fashion. A great title change. Mr. Brody Lee, the champion. So my overall thoughts on the show, the show itself seemed very routine, seemed very run-of-the-mill. NXT definitely had the hotter hand last night, for sure, with their special. However, I think the main event impact, or the pop of the main event, was greater on the AEW side. I think the shock of Cody losing the TNT title is big. People are still talking about it. And other than the Karrion Kross injury over on the NXT side, it's almost business as usual now, as the WWE side is getting ready for SummerSlam. So I think that that's the case. So I'll give Dynamite a 7.5 out of 10 as well, but I'll give the nod for the better overall show of the evening to NXT TakeOver. But the better main event between the two, I'm going to give to Brody Lee and Cody. I think that again, shock value, and it was kind of a jaw dropper when it was first viral on Twitter and everything like that. So anyways, later days, happy wrestling watching. I'm Kellen Nitro. Stay tuned for more SummerSlam Nitro State coming up post SummerSlam within 24 to 48 hours of that event closing and being done. So watch for that. And take care, guys. Enjoy SummerSlam.